Hey everybody, welcome back to another JBoz Gaming video. This is your host JBoz, and today we're going to talk about platooning. We're going to go a little bit in depth around not just how to create a platoon, but also how to effectively lead or run a platoon. Now, let me caveat this video with kind of some statements up front. What I'm going to share around platooning is more for the serious times when you're trying to do your best and be your best within game. Doesn't mean that you have a platoon and you run a platoon like this at all times. There are more casual ways, obviously, to run platoons and just have enjoyment and play with your friends. That is not what this video is about. This video is about making you a better tanker and how platoons can do that. And also, it's what I talk to my clanmates about when we platoon as a clan and are trying to be more successful uh, in getting better and performing well. We are not a competitive clan, but we do take take at times the game pretty serious, and we try to win battles, and we try to do the best we can. And when we are in those types of modes or moments, then this video would apply. At other times, when we're just hanging out, goofing off, having some fun, obviously the rigorness of platooning kind of falls away, and we don't have near as much of what I'm going to share in this video. So just know that there's different types and styles of platooning, and I'm not advocating for one over the other. I'm just trying to help make you a better tanker and expose you to platoons or structured platoons that would do that. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. As always, I'm going to start with the World War II main garage screen. On that screen, you can hit your double window button and bring up the basically the invite button when you create a platoon. When you do that, and I've got another video that kind of breaks this screen down a little bit on what it is and how to do it. But you can kind of send a friend invite to a buddy of yours and start to create a platoon. A platoon can have three individuals in it. One will be the platoon leader. That's the person that actually starts the platoon. It doesn't have to be the person that invites people to the platoon, because all people, depending on the status of the platoon, can invite people in to the platoon. But the platoon leader decides what tanks to pick, and kind of and effectively leads the communication in my way of thinking of how platoons should be structured. So let's jump into this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up an example, and this is just a screenshot. Sorry, let me bring up this one. A screenshot of a platoon that I created with a clanmate of mine, and just to kind of show you what these screens look like when you're in a platoon. So once you've invited your friend and they've accepted it, you get on the main garage screen a platoon option here in the upper left corner. Now this depends on the version of tanks that you've played, but this is kind of moved around and kind of changed from a visual perspective. But now currently it's up in the upper left, and you can have, like I said, three people. What it'll have is the platoon leader listed first with the little kind of mark that they're the platoon leader, and then if they haven't selected a tank, it'll just say waiting, and nobody can actually pick a tank until the platoon leader does. And so that's the key, is once the platoon leader selects a tank, what that does is locks in the tier that everybody has to select from. And there's a special option on the filter that automatically gets set that will quickly adjust if that's turned on. It's defaulted on, so you don't have to go in and change anything. But as soon as the platoon leader selects a tank, unless you have other filters turned on, right, then you might have to go and kind of clear your filters and set that filter to show what the platoon leader has filtered on. But once that platoon leader picks a tank, that determines the actual tier of the tank. So I'm going to bring up the next kind of screenshot where I've selected a tier 4 tank, and therefore the only tier that my friend Kentucky Iron Horseman can select is a tier 4 tank. Now he might have multiple tier 4 tanks. He gets to decide which ones he runs. That's okay. But I'll have tips and tricks on as we go through here what you should do as a platoon. But in general, he can pick any tier 4 tank that he has in his garage to be able to platoon with. So that's in general how a leader kind of starts the platoon. Once everybody has selected a tank, then the leader will hit the A button, which will send you into the battle queue, and you will be put into a match. Um, so let me kind of go through what the platoon leader does. Obviously, he determines what tier you'll play. He talks through the progression of threats, which is a separate video that I've already done. It's out on the YouTube channel, so check that out. But he'll talk through those potentially along with the platoon members. The platoon members also help identify threats, but in general, it's the platoon leader that's kind of leading the conversation. And then um, in a platoon, you want to make sure that you select tanks that complement each other. And that doesn't mean that you always have to stay together in a platoon, but you don't want to, let's say you don't want to pick, here's an example of something that doesn't necessarily complement one another. Picking a heavy and an artillery doesn't make a lot of sense. Not that you can't do it, but the artillery doesn't really help the heavy. Sure, he can help protect him by firing at people that are close to him, but the heavy really isn't an effective spotter, so he doesn't really quickly identify targets for the artillery to hit or take out. So as platoon mates, you're not really getting the full benefit of platooning unless you pick tanks that really complement one another. For example, a better combination is a light tank and an artillery, where the light tank is going out, you're spotting people and kind of running away and respotting them and letting the artillery, your teammate, get the damage while you're getting the assisted damage in the spotting damage that you're getting. So that's a good combination. Obviously, there's combinations where you both play the same tank, you stick together within the battle, and you play together. And some of the things that I'm going to mention are those concepts where you're actually together, playing together, and on seeing the same part of the battlefield versus you being separate from your platoon mate. There are combinations that do work and that do make sense, but in general, when you platoon, you really want to play tanks that are going to play well together and actually play together in the actual battle. The platoon leader calls out firing targets. So typically, they'll be the one that determines which tanks you want to isolate and shoot as a group. Because think about it, if you have a particular enemy on the battlefield, and let's say you have full platoon, you have two other platoon members beside yourself, you now have 3 guns. And those 3 guns can take out a tank much faster than a single gun. So if you all 3 shoot at separate targets, then it's going to take you all about the same time to take out those 3 tanks. Well, if you all shoot at the same tank and take that target out faster, then what it does is now give you numbers advantage, where now you only have 2 tanks firing back at you, and you have 3 tanks hopefully still available. And so you can whittle the enemy down much faster by what I call concentrating fire as you are platooning. So this is always good if you are in tanks that are playing together on the battlefield, because then you can concentrate fire. And it is the platoon leader's job to point out, potentially which tanks you should focus your fire on. The reason I say that it's the platoon leader's job is you can designate someone else in the platoon to do this. It's just that you only want one person doing it. You don't want to all call out, "Hey, I'm going after the M5A1 Stuart," and at the same time, someone else is calling out, "Well, I'm going after the artillery." Okay, so which one are you supposed to go after? It should be one person making the call, and I generally think that should be the platoon leader, since he's the one that created the platoon and is kind of driving this particular session of games that you're playing together. So with that being said, all members, both platoon leader and platoon members, should be having strong map awareness and constantly communicating about the map and the awareness of what's going on, both with the enemies as well as the allies. You want to constantly communicate. I can't overstress communication in a platoon. You want to communicate what you're doing, right? You want to communicate, distance from things. Let's say I'm following a platoon mate, and I had stopped to fire at somebody, and I'm a little bit behind him. I want to describe to him how far away I am from him, so I use distance expressed in time. If I know and I can kind of see how fast I'm traveling, then I can say, hey, I'm 3 seconds out from your location, or I'm 6 seconds out from your location. That way, in his head, he can start counting down, potentially when I will be there to assist or have reach his location. So expressing distance in time is better than, hey, I'm 2 boxes away from you, or I'm at a particular coordinate and he knows he's at a particular coordinate, and he has to do the math and look at the map and figure out how far that is, right? We don't need any of that. The battle happens fast, and so expressing distance in time is the best way to do that. Also, using grid coordinates to call out positions of opponents is helpful. Not distance in time, but actual coordinates. So on J2, I saw an M5A1 light tank. He seems to be isolated. Let's go after him, right? So having grid coordinates that people can kind of look up and see, oh yeah, I see the light tank there at J2. Or you can even use different columns and rows. So on the 2 line or on the J line, J column, right? You can kind of use general coordinates as well, so that people can quickly focus their eyes on where you want them to on that mini map to get all on the same page quickly. So just tips on communication there. And I'll go through again and summarize at the end of the video, what you should communicate and in what order. You also should focus your fire, if you can, on the same target. So in certain situations, though, for example, and you'll come to know the map, mines, if you go up into the mines and you get into the center part of the mines, focusing fire on a single tank is great and fine, but there's also situations where you want to stagger your fire, especially if you're in auto reloaders, right, where you have substantial reload times. Always having that next shell ready, that next gun up, helps hold a position or hold a flank. And so if, let's say, you have 3 people kind of holding a spot on the map, and one fires and they pull back under cover, and the next one pulls up and fires in a sequenced time thing, well, now again you're laying cover fire out there for your allies, but you're also always putting shells down range, which makes the enemy stay covered up, or he risks getting hit. It also gives you safety as you're reloading. If someone comes up, they're going to be punished because your buddy has the shell ready to go and will put it into that tank that's trying to shoot you as you're trying to reload. So staggering fire is also something that you should learn to do in a platoon. Also, focusing fire. Usually the platoon leader makes that call as you get in position. He'll describe what you're trying to do, and then he will say, okay, we need to stagger fire, or we need to concentrate fire on blah, 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 right? So, that's the kind of, again, you can have someone else be the designated leader of the group. It doesn't have to actually be the platoon leader, but I find that it's just generally good practice that the platoon leader does that. Try not to park or ride in someone's 6 spot or behind them. So that kind of brings up another thing, not only expressing location or distance in time, but expressing your location in relative position to your teammate. For example, military uses a clock, kind of like an old clock, analog clock, that uses different positions on that clock. And if you're at the center of that clock, the 12 o'clock is your front, the 6 o'clock is your rear, and of course, the 3 o'clock is your right, and the 9 o'clock is your left. And so using those clock positions helps people quickly understand where you are in relation to where they are. And so when I say park, you don't park on their 6, meaning you don't pull up directly behind them and park behind them on their 6. Because if they need to back up behind something or get under cover, they will actually run into you, and that will prevent them from retreating. And you don't want to ever prevent an ally, even an ally, let alone a platoon mate. You don't want to ever prevent people from backing up. So if, let's say, you're in a small alley and you're trying to get shots on somebody, park off to their rear as best you can. Try not to prevent people from an escape route. So that's just a good tip on generally being courteous and etiquette of play. But in a platoon, it matters. Don't park on somebody's rear. Uh, Also, don't get upset about about who gets the kill for a particular tank. And the reason I say this is kills matter once you start to understand what makes you a better tank player, what makes you statistically score better, is not necessarily kills, it's damage. Um, you don't care if your teammate, comes up and gets the last shot on somebody, or you shouldn't. Now, we joke about it. We tease one another about stealing kills or whatever in my clan or in my platoons. But honestly, I don't care. I want somebody to come out and take him out. The more time that tank is alive is more time he can put a shell into me. So if I've bled him for all of his hit points and my buddy Kentucky Iron Horse decides to come up and put a shell and take that tank out of the fight, so be it. That's a good thing. That's a good day. That's a win in my book. And vice versa. If for example Kentucky has shot somebody 6 times and he's almost dead, and I come up and kill him, that's okay. We're working together to take tanks out, and we want to do that as quickly as possible. And that's why you platoon. So don't get mad if somebody is stealing your kills. Trust me, over time it all works out. One day you're going to be stealing his, and the other day he's going to be stealing yours. What I would say is don't consciously let your teammates, this is poor gameplay in general. Don't let your allies or even your platoon mates hit a tank and you always take the last shot. You should always be firing when you reload as soon as you can on a tank. Again, kills do matter a lot less than damage. In fact, we joke, we always kind of keep track of records, not just records for how much damage we've done, but also how little damage we can do and still the number of kills that you can get. And it's not a good record you want to have. For example, if you've only done 10 damage and you've killed 5 tanks, well, that's not a good game. It'll look like you scored like real well on the leaderboard, right? You might even be in the top 5, but you didn't participate in the battle. You didn't help your team win. Yeah, you took tanks out of the fight, but they were almost dead tanks anyway. Somebody else would have shot them eventually. And I'm not saying it was wrong. You should take those tanks out, but that's not a good game when you have a bunch of kills and very little damage. You want a lot of damage and as many kills as you can rack up, right? So just know that it is not wrong for other people to kill the tank you're shooting at. Platoon leader should set the map strategy, and usually you do this as soon as you know what map is coming up. Members should also suggest if they have different strategies they might want to employ. They can give feedback, but they need one person deciding, okay, what are we doing in this match? Oh, we're going to go to the left flank. We don't want all of you deciding simultaneously, well, I'm going to the right flank, I'm going to guard the middle, and I'm going to go to the left flank. Again, if you're trying to stay together, that's not effective, right? And just by that little delay is now you have to come and make a decision, and somebody has to win the argument. Well, what you want to do is you want to have a leader pre-designated to make that decision before the battle begins, because as you know, as soon as you get in that battle queue and it starts to put you in a match, you have limited time to make these decisions, all while having to do a lot of things. Decide your map strategy, go through your list of progressions, right? Threat progressions, and all of that, right? So there's a lot to do in very little time. So having a dedicated person making those decisions is ideal, and that's why I usually put it on the platoon leader. When dead, communicate death, and then select a ally or teammate to follow through the battle, kind of right along, if you will. And that you can do this by hitting the left or right trigger, and it kind of goes through all your teammates if you keep pressing one or the other. One goes one way, the other goes the other. So what I mean by communicate death is a lot of times you might be in a platoon and a platoon mate dies, and you're still trying to move up or make progress, and now you're the only one over there, and you don't even know it because you haven't realized that your allies have been disabled or are no longer in the fight. So it is incumbent upon each member to make sure to say, hey, they killed me, or I'm out, or whatever the signal is that your tank has been destroyed and you're no longer active in the battle, so that all platoon members know, okay, we're now down to two, or we're down to one, or I'm by myself. You need to be communicating, and I think what happens is people at first they don't like to die, and they think it's embarrassing to die, and just know everybody dies. Um, it's better to communicate with your platoon mates than to have them die too. So swallow your pride and just say, yeah, they got me, or I made a mistake and they got me, whatever. But I'm dead. You need to know that. Now you can make better decisions about how to carry on with the fight and hopefully pull this win out for us, right? That's the point, is communication that benefits the platoon and the team that you're playing with. And the reason I say ride along with someone else is, and sometimes that's the platoon leader, if that's who's maybe the better tanker in your group, ride along with them, because now you can see real time as they talk about communicating, as they're thinking through their process and maybe verbalizing that. This is your opportunity to learn. This is your opportunity to learn from others on where they go, how they play, what they think, what they do in certain situations, right? So don't provide commentary unless requested. Like, sometimes I'll ride along with less experienced tankers to give them advice about what they should do in situations. But what I try to do is not get in their way. I would rather them make the decisions, fight their fight, and then afterwards I might go through and critique their play and give them feedback and say, well, in that situation I would have done this, and I think it would have resulted in this, right? But maybe you're riding along and you see, you're also watching the mini map, and you can call out, hey, there's still a tank you do that. But don't trump on, hey, you need to go this way, and they're in control of their tank. Just ride along and learn from them. If you can't really learn from them, then it's a special situation where maybe you're an experienced tanker trying to teach someone else, and that's a special situation. In general, don't be rude while riding along. Don't try to play their tank for them. Okay? Um, let's see. Let's see. Say get directions with less skilled players. Oh, we talked about that. Don't. We all get upset when we die. Don't take it personally. We talked about that. If you aren't heavily armed, just if you aren't having fun in the platoon, for whatever reason, maybe they're not using the strategies you want to use, or you're just getting frustrated, you're just not having a good day, and you're not enjoying yourself. Don't don't let that build to frustration where you're going to argue with your platoon mates. Go ahead and bow out of the platoon. Just say, hey, this is my last game, guys. I'm gonna head. Thank you for playing with me. I'm gonna play by myself for a while, or I'm just gonna get off for a while, or whatever it is. You know, go ahead and bow out of the platoon. Don't allow frustration to mount where you're actually, getting frustrated with your platoon mates. There's many reasons that people get frustrated in the game. It is sometimes a difficult game. It is a frustrating game at times, and so we just have to stop and recognize that we're getting frustrated and kind of give ourselves a timeout. That gives ourselves the chance to re-energize, and also gives your buddy or whoever you're platooning with the opportunity to also re-energize and get their thoughts together. Maybe they'll ask you, "Hey, did I do something wrong? Was I upsetting you?" And then you might have a conversation. Yeah, I'd really like to try this strategy on that map. Okay, well next time we can do that, right? People will be more accommodating after the fact than maybe in the immediate moment. So just take that opportunity to bow out of a platoon if you need to and are getting frustrated with either your gameplay or someone else's gameplay in the platoon. Just know that personalities don't always mix, and sometimes maybe their voice just grinds on you. It could be a multitude of things, but don't have be a bigger person, have some valor, and just bow out of the platoon. You can come back and create a platoon in the future with people that you do enjoy playing with, or just at times where you're less frustrated. Uh, just just don't always look for fault in others. Be willing to just step aside. If you're getting frustrated, be an adult and say so, and then just leave. Hey, guys, maybe it's me, maybe I'm just frustrated right now. I'm just going to take a break. Whatever it is, be honest about it and just bow out. You don't even have to say you're frustrated. You can just say, hey, I'm going to take a break for a while, guys. Whatever. Um, Use good etiquette when platooned. Let people know if you need to step away. What I mean by this is, if let's say the phone rings and you have to answer a phone call, just say, hey, I'm going to step away. Put yourself on mute, and then step away from the game or whatever, or play if you can play while you're doing something else. But let your platoon mates know you just haven't left them hanging. That something hasn't happened to you. You didn't just die, or your house exploded or whatever. Communicate what's happening with you. If it's a short period of time, then go ahead and do your business, and uh, take care of it and come back to the platoon. If it's an extended period, again, be an adult. Say, hey, I'd like to platoon with you guys right now, but something just happened. I've got to get off, or I've got to step away for an extended period. So let's, and if maybe they'll have the ability also. Maybe it's a bathroom break and you're just taking a break. Maybe it's a lunch break. I don't know. It depends on how long you're platooning, right? But you, as a platoon, need to decide what's an extended break. And once you're taking a break that's extended and others don't want to take that break, then be willing to leave the platoon and let someone else have an opportunity to platoon with your friends and your teammates. We're going to get into some clan specific things that I give. I'm going to go ahead and give these because if you are in a clan, it's good to know, or good to suggest. But you know, clan, generally, if you're in a clan and you're running platoons, the clan should take priority. Meaning, if there are other clanmates that would like to platoon and work with you, then you should give them the opportunity to platoon with you. So let's say I'm in Boz, that's my clan that I have, and a friend of mine that's not in Boz, but I play with, I platoon with these people, I platoon with a lot of people, wants to play with me, and they come and they join the platoon, and maybe it's just me and another Boz person in the clan, uh, platooned, then we have a spot open, and so we allow that person to come and play with us. And then maybe another Boz member gets on and says, how you guys doing? I'd like to join the platoon. Then please, what you should do is ask your colleague or friend that is not in the clan, hey, another clan member would like to join the platoon. We're going to ask that you kind of leave us for now, but you're welcome to join us back if we have an open spot, or you see us on again, hit us up. Happy to do that. One, it does two things. It actually gives value to your clan when they have some priority over not random strangers, but other friends, right? The clan should be the priority because it is a clan about World of Tanks. And one of the main reasons that you want to join a clan is to always have people that are willing to play and learn your play style and be willing to play with you. Also, you generally hope that the personalities match and you enjoy playing with these folks. So it should be also something that you want to do, is not just a rule that you have to enforce. But in general, you want to have the clan have the priority. I happen to have two clans. I run Boz, and I also run a kind of training clan, SC6. And so Boz takes priority. If it's a Boz platoon leader, then that clan is, or that platoon is Boz, and anybody that's wanting to join that platoon in Boz gets first priority. And of course, if they they don't have enough Boz members to fill the platoon, and a SC6 member wants to join, you add them, and they get priority over just a friend or somebody that's wanting to platoon. So there's kind of hierarchy of priority in that sense. So you can have these kind of structures, but you need to talk about it. You need to state it up front, and you always need to be nice about it when you're asking someone to leave a platoon. Also understand when you join a platoon, and maybe there's clan members in that platoon that at some point you might be asked to leave. It doesn't mean that they don't like you. It doesn't mean that they don't want to play with you. But because they have joined a clan, they have made a commitment to that clan that they will play with them, and they have to have some priority, and they should get that priority. I would hope that you would want that same priority if you joined a clan. And honestly, there's also a bit of an incentive here, is that if you're platooning with folks that you enjoy playing with, and they're in a clan, and you're constantly getting kicked because they always have clan members that want to play with you, well, I would think maybe you might want to consider joining their clan. That way, you have the same priority as everybody else. So there's some incentive there. So just know that you should give that priority some thought when you're in a clan. Let's see. We talked about leaving. Some other etiquette is when you're on the mic and platooning or party chatting or whatever, just have some common etiquette about background noise. Turn down your TV. Keep the background noise to a minimum if you can. If you can't, then you might need to put your mic on mute and be able to go on and off mute when you need to communicate. And I realize that sometimes can be annoying, but just think about how annoying it is not to hear the actual conversation occurring because of the background noise that you have going on in your particular location. Maybe there's a dog barking, there's a baby crying, whatever that is at your house, and that doesn't need to be at everybody's house. So, just have some common sense, have some etiquette, and learn to mute or potentially leave the platoon if you have a lot of background noise going on that you can't control. So let's see. Talk about background. So just as a recap, as a summary for this video, you want to communicate several things when you're in a platoon. And so to kind of reiterate what those are is where you're located, where you're going, what you're seeing, what your reload time is on your tank, if at all above a few seconds, right? How many HP you have left is good things to communicate. Express distance in time. Use the grid coordinates for location description for enemies, and use your clock positions to describe your relative location to others or their relative location to you. Yeah, I see you on my 3 o'clock. Yeah, I see you on my 6. Or hey, I'm on your 9 o'clock, right? So use clock positions to describe your relative location. And then also, if you can and need to, also let your teammates know that you have certain modules knocked out. If you can't repair them, or it's taking a long time to repair them, and a perfect example is I'm tracked. When you're in a platoon, you should hear if someone gets tracked. That way, maybe you need to assist in cover fire. If you can keep people from shooting your ally while he's either repairing or spending the time to actually go through a repair, you can pull forward and maybe take some shots. And of course, it may mean that you take some damage, but it's better than him getting drained of all of his life while you kind of try to distract him and he get his tracks back on and in working order. So just communicating what modules are damaged. Maybe if you have a maybe you've been ammo racked and you don't have a repair kit. You should say, "Hey, I'm ammo racked, so my reload time's longer." You should always say, "Hey, I've got 20 seconds to reload," or whatever it is. But but having just that extra awareness for your platoon mates helps them make better decisions about whether you can or will be able to assist them in the battle when needed. So that's all that I had to share about platooning. I hope it was helpful. If there's other things that you'd like me to cover or you think I should have added to the video, please give me that feedback in the comments. It's always welcome and appreciated. If this video you found helpful or thought it would be helpful for others, please hit that like button. As always, please subscribe if you like the content that I'm making here. It helps the channel grow. And also hit that bell so you see the next one that drops. As always, I really appreciate your time, and I thank you for watching this video. We'll see you in the next one.